Hello and welcome to another edition of Whether or Not. We saw the season's first snow earlier this week, but is warmer weather in store for this weekend? Tom will have the details in his forecast, and Travis has a feature on winter weather preparedness. All of this plus nature in the news and more, Whether or Not, starts now. And welcome again to this edition of Whether or Not. I'm your host, Tyler Jankoski.
And I'm your forecaster, Tom Bedard.
Well, we certainly had a lot of cold air in the area on Tuesday and Wednesday. Even our first measurable snowfall Tuesday morning. The ground was a bit white when we woke up. But that has all melted away, and that's good news because it's still November. My question, though, to you, Tom, moving forward, second to last home game at Beaver Stadium this Saturday. Is there a return to seasonable temperatures in the outlook? Are we going to see sun?
You know, I don't want to give away all my forecast secrets quite yet. I can tell you, and I'll agree with you, this past Tuesday and Wednesday, they were very cold outside. I didn't even want to go and do my daily run. This Saturday, however, it's going to be nicer, but you're going to have to stick around and hear the forecast, hear the details.
Well, I'm anxious to hear the details, but right now, nature in the news.
A tornado on Halloween? That's what the small town of Vandalia, Ohio experienced late in the evening on October 31st. A cold front was pushing its way east when the tornado spun up in town. Several businesses sustained significant structural damage to the roofs and many windows were blown in. In a nearby restaurant parking lot, many car windows were smashed and a small pickup truck was lifted and tossed onto a nearby vehicle. The next in line was a neighborhood. 3 homes were rendered inhabitable after the twister caused partial damage and collapses, as well as spun up debris fast enough to impale the roofs of some of the houses. The National Weather Service office in Wilmington, Ohio confirmed the EF1 tornado with maximum wind speeds of 110 to 100 miles an hour. 8 people were injured, but thankfully there were no fatalities. Talk about a spooky night.
A massive super typhoon struck the Philippines late last week, and the extent of the devastation is only slowly reaching the United States. Super Typhoon Haiyan had maximum 1-minute sustained winds of 195 miles per hour upon landfall and destroyed nearly everything in its path. Between 500,000 and 600,000 people have been displaced by the storm. More than 1,800 people are confirmed dead, and more than 2,600 are injured. Officials surveying the catastrophe expect those numbers to climb. Food and water are hard to come by in the Philippines. Many countries are now sending help. Both Russia and Belgium sent field hospitals, and the European Union and Israel sent Boeing 747s with supplies. The United States Navy has ordered the USS George Washington to make, quote, best speed for the Philippines. The aircraft carrier and its aircraft will be used to deliver various forms of aid to the ravaged country. Before the storm made landfall, meteorologists were amazed by the symmetrical structure of the storm. It made landfall at peak intensity, a strong Category 5 storm, and by measure of wind speed, it was the strongest landfalling tropical cyclone in recorded history.
Carbon dioxide gas injection in earthquakes? New research says that small earthquakes near Snyder, Texas may have been caused by injecting gas into the earth. Northwest Texas is home to oil and gas fields, and for many years, operators of these sites have injected CO2 into the ground to produce petroleum production. Several small earthquakes, including a few greater than magnitude 3.0, were correlated with the injection of gas, according to researchers Gann and Frolick at the University of Texas at Austin. However, the same results were not replicated near other oil and gas fields. The researchers think that they have an explanation. Snyder is on top of a geological fault that may be prone to movement when large amounts of gas are injected into the earth. The other oil fields may not have the same geological composition underneath the surface. Gann and Frolick hope to further explore why other oil and gas fields do not experience earthquakes as a result of CO2 gas injection.
The sun's magnetic field is about ready to flip. Wait, what? That's right. Every 11 years or so, the polarity of the sun reverses. Scientists at Stanford University's Wilcox Solar Observatory say the sun is currently going through a flip in its cycle. The period of the cycle when the activity on the sun is most active is known as the solar maximum. This is when the magnetic flip usually occurs. The magnetic field of the sun affects the Earth's magnetic field, and that's important. Important because the Earth's magnetic field is used by technology such as power grids and GPS systems. No issues are expected here on Earth, though. Tom is here now with a look at the forecast.
Thanks, Tyler. And let's take a look now at this weekend's forecast, starting off with a big picture on Friday. The most important thing to talk about is this center of high pressure over Virginia and North Carolina. Now, that's important because it's going to provide a shift in the winds for us. Now, over the past couple of days, you've noticed a wind from the west-northwest or northwest, and that's been very cold. It's kept our temperatures very low. With this southwesterly wind, we're going to be a bit more moist in the lower levels of the atmosphere, so a bit more cloud cover, but our temperatures will be just a couple of degrees above where they have been. And they'll be just a bit above average as well. A cold front is going to be north of the area on Friday. It's going to push through on Saturday. You might notice a couple more clouds with it, but no rain, no other moisture to associate with that. High pressure stays in place for Saturday just for the Penn State football game, though as we get closer to Sunday, that's out of the picture. And the new thing to talk about is going to be a disturbance coming up from the southwestern United States, or the southern United States rather. That's going to have a bit of rain scattered mostly on Sunday, getting more and more prominent in the area as the week goes on. But let's refocus, go back towards Friday, 52 degrees, a great seasonal, a great fall afternoon. Mix of sun and clouds. It's going to be very nice outside, and it's not going to be too bad Saturday night. Brisk. 34 degrees and partly clear, so if you're out there, if you're at Nittanyville, if you're enjoying maybe a late night creamery snack, make sure to bring a sweatshirt and maybe a heavy winter coat with you, so it's going to be very cool outside. Saturday, it's going to get fairly warm, 54 degrees, a far cry from the 30s that we were feeling last Tuesday and Wednesday. Partly sunny. When you're in that sunshine on those Beaver Stadium stands, you're going to feel warm, so don't dress too warm outside. Dress in layers so you can take a couple off if you start sweating out there. Saturday night, we're going to get fairly cool, but not too bad. 40 degrees, clouds increasing as that front starts getting closer and closer to the area. You might see a shower Saturday night. I can't rule that out, but it's much more likely as we get closer to the day on Sunday. Scattered showers expected throughout the area and 54 degrees. So that's warm. That's a couple degrees above average that we're expecting. So it's a good day to stay inside, maybe get a good book or a movie, and just enjoy a nice rainy fall day.
Winter Weather Awareness Week is this week here in Pennsylvania. Are you prepared? Heavy snow can quickly pile up, delighting skiers, but clogging roads. Back in early December of 2010, a storm dumped up to 2 feet of snow in the Buffalo area, stranding hundreds of motorists along Interstate 90 for more than 15 hours.
I made the mistake of trying to go bowling, and now I'm trying to get back to Lakeview, but the alternative is obviously to go somewhere where I can sleep.
The lake effect storm dumped at least 2 feet of snow on the Buffalo area, closing schools, cutting power. Emergency workers are checking on stranded motorists using snowmobiles to get to the snowbound.
What if you are caught in a similar situation as these drivers were, or worse, slide off the road into a snowbank and become trapped alone for who knows how long? What type of items would you want to have with you in your car?
Probably a shovel and then warm clothes like a jacket, gloves, and boots.
Hot water, I think you should have a shovel and like a spare tire in case like you get a flat or you get stuck somewhere. You could use the shovel to get your way out.
Most of these items are on the National Weather Service's list for a winter storm survival kit. There are the obvious blankets and extra clothing to stay dry and warm, a shovel, a flashlight with extra batteries, and a first aid kit. But then there are the not so obvious. A large empty can to use as an emergency toilet, and a small can and waterproof matches to melt snow for drinking water. Often when it's cold enough to snow, it's cold enough to freeze water bottles, so a match to melt snow is a better alternative. And not much is worse than having to wait 15 hours to use a restroom. So you find yourself in this situation stranded on I-80 or I-99, what should you do? The National Weather Service recommends you stay in your vehicle. You can quickly become disoriented in wind-driven snow and cold and be injured by other drivers. You are more likely to be rescued from your car than from a barn or other uninhabited buildings. Tie a brightly colored cloth to your antenna to signal for help and run the motor about 10 minutes each hour for heat. Crack the window open ever so often for fresh air and make sure the tailpipe is clear of snow to prevent carbon monoxide poisoning. The holidays are right around the corner and traveling is about to pick up. Take 15 minutes out of your day to prepare a winter storm survival kit like this one, full of essential items, and keep it in the back or trunk of your car. And one other thing, call ahead to your destination to let someone know when you are leaving and when they can expect you. For Weather or Not, I'm Travis Patterson. Safe travels.
Now let's take a look at your weekend forecast and a peek of next week's weather. This weekend, not looking too bad, at least in the early parts of it. High 52 on Friday, clouds and sun, 54 on Saturday. Seasonable start and midpoint for the weekend. Now holding out just for the Penn State-Purdue game. Now once that game's over, of course it can rain. So Sunday, scattered showers and 54 degrees. Now that wet weather's not going anywhere quite too soon. It'll be sticking around for your Monday morning and your Monday evening as well. It'll continue all the way into Tuesday when we start to see a front coming through. Now once that front moves through, boy is it going to be breezy outside, but that's common for this area. On Wednesday, just as happens after every front passes, we do see a bit of lake effect snow. After that passes on Wednesday, we're going to be shaping up for a cool but beautiful Thursday and Friday. So it's going to be a wet work week until Wednesday.
Well, Tom, it looks like the weather turns more unsettled as the weekend progresses.
It does so, and thankfully it gets more unsettled after the football game. So after we're back from the stands and tailgating, then it can rain, then it's fine to do that. And it's not unsettled in the wintry sense of the word. As typical before a cold front comes, we're a bit warmer, and because we're warmer, we're not going to see snow. So we're not going to begin to worry about the fluffy white stuff until after Tuesday.
Well, that's good news. And speaking of snow, that brings us to this week's Weather Whiz question. Earlier in the show, we asked you, the daily record snowfall in Pittsburgh was broken last Tuesday, November 12th. How much snow fell? Was it A, 3 inches, B, a ½ inch, C, 2.4 inches, or D, 1.6 inches? The answer is C, 2.4 inches. And that broke the old record from 102 years ago of 1.7 inches. So, it's always exciting here in the weather office when we break a record set more than 102 years ago, and that's what happened Tuesday morning. The snow has since melted away because it's too early in the season, but nonetheless an interesting record set earlier this week.
Absolutely. I mean, the ground at this point is too warm to really keep snow for a long period of time. And if you were watching the radar in Pittsburgh about earlier in the day to midday on Tuesday, you could see a beautiful lake effect band setting up right over the city. Now that passed to the west as the winds were fluctuating with it a bit, but it was a very classic post-frontal lake effect snow event.
And that brings us to the end of this week's show. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll join you here next week. We hope you'll join us too. For Tom Bedard, Travis Patterson, and Christy Shields, thank you for joining us.